Virtualization has become one of the most important developments in computing technology, I'll say over the last 10 to 15 years. It enables businesses to manage their computing resources much more efficiently and effectively, while also providing some cost savings and improved system performance. Today I'm going to be discussing virtualization and what it means for you and your business. Hello, I'm Michael Kinnett, CEO and founder of Eternal Networks, and every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, I go on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, my personal LinkedIn to discuss the latest technology and cybersecurity news that might affect you and your business. And today's a little bit different than most weeks because I'm out of the office today. I had a conflict and was not able to do this live, so I had to pre-record it. So instead of being able to answer your questions live at the end, I'll have to answer them via direct message or in the comments once I'm back in office later today. So if you do have any business, technology, cybersecurity questions, make sure to throw them in the comments, and I promise I will get back to you once I'm back in the office in a few hours. For the news, the government of Bermuda has been the victim of a cyber attack. All departments for the government were experiencing internet, email, and phone interruptions due to a cyber attack that they are attributing to hackers based out of Russia. And I do want to point out, I was at a cybersecurity conference here a couple months ago, and we were talking about some of the statistics on cyber attacks. And it's interesting because if you look at pre-Russia-Ukraine war, the cyber attacks out of Russia were much higher on the United States and other Western countries and businesses than they were over the past year and a half since the Russia-Ukraine war started. But we're starting to see, after a lull in those cyber attacks, we're starting to see an increase in those attacks coming out of Russia. The lull is kind of attributed to the change in focus of those Russian hackers. Instead of coming after the United States and its allies and Western business, they started attacking Ukraine and Ukraine's interests. But now they're starting to shift that back to Western countries and businesses. So it's expected we're going to see more of these type of attacks out of Russia and Russian-based hacking organizations. All right, next in the news, a couple weeks ago I talked about this. I mentioned that it was critical that you updated your iPhone with some emergency critical patches. Well, guess what? Once again, less than a month, there's some critical updates that you have to put out on your iPhone. So the vulnerabilities that these updates are patching allow for a threat actor to steal the contents of your phone by way of sending a spoofed text message that points to a malicious website. So if you haven't patched and you receive one of these spoofed text messages that points to this, then you're vulnerable to them being able to steal the contents of your phone. So please, if you haven't already, please update your iPhone to the latest updates available to make sure that you're protected from this vulnerability. Now for our topic of conversation, and to start off, I think it's important to understand what virtualization is. So we're going to start off with kind of an understanding of virtualization. It might sound like a very complex concept, but it's not really that mysterious. So think of it as creating a digital clone of a physical entity, whether it's a hardware or there's some sort of resource, right? The beauty that lies in that separation from the physical hardware from the software that it runs. So basically, you're enabled to host multiple operating systems on a single computer or server, eliminating the need for physical hardware. So think about you've got one physical server, and layered on top of it, or inside of it, you might say, you can have multiple servers running that are separated out in these virtual instances. So instead of one server, one piece of hardware, you've got one piece of hardware, multiple servers running on it, which leads to some of the other benefits we're going to talk about, like cost efficiency and scalability. You may wonder, well, why should I care about it? Well, that's why. It's because you can save costs and you can scale easier, right? So say goodbye to the days of having to procure a multitude of servers for each application. With virtualization, you can replicate applications or operating systems on a single server, single piece of hardware, resulting in really a substantial cost savings. It also grants you the agility to seamlessly integrate, add new applications, new services into your infrastructure when the need arises without a huge outlay of cash for new hardware. I had the opportunity a few years ago of touring the internal data center for Southwest Gas in Las Vegas. and they had this massive server room, and they had like 3 racks of servers in it, and most of it was just empty space. And when we were talking with them about it, they said, yeah, when we started virtualizing our systems, we went from an entire room with dozens of racks of servers from floor to ceiling to a very small number because they could virtualize. So much easier to scale, much easier on pocketbook, right, without having to outlay all that cash for hardware. All right, one of the other benefits is optimizing the resource utilization, right? That's what virtualization is all about, right? It's optimizing your resources. Instead of investing in multiple servers for different applications, you're sharing the resources of it, like memory and storage. So instead of having one server with 32 gigs of RAM or a terabyte of storage or whatever, right? That storage is shared across other ones, and they can, at different times, one might use a higher percentage than another, but it shares those resources seamlessly across with each other through that virtualization software. What that does is that translates to reduced cost per application and server, thanks to those economies of scale in action. Another benefit is enhanced system performance. So virtualization can help your applications run at peak speed. It can make really everything kind of work a little bit more seamlessly by streamlining the complexities of managing these multiple machines with various operating systems. It paves the way for enhanced performance, right? Instead of one server having to communicate with another server and another server and another server, if they're all in the same stack communicating with each other internally, it really allows you to have much faster performance on those applications. They'll respond quicker whether you're accessing from different devices or different locations. And let's not forget about security, right? Virtualization really also adds to some strength and security. You can tighten reins on access control. You get to dictate who gains entry and who doesn't, reducing some vulnerabilities that might attract cyber threats. It also acts as a barrier against unauthorized software installations, right, such as malware. Everything operates under the vigilance standards set by your IT experts through the policies of virtualization, enabling some of that robust security. I do want to point out that you have to configure it properly, and you have to make sure you're limiting access to that. The MGM hack of the last couple of weeks, the biggest part of why they were down is because their virtualization servers or virtual servers were encrypted. So somebody gained access to the bottom layer that should not have, and then encrypted everything, and all the servers were taken down. The data on those servers might have been protected, but they're offline regardless. So you still have to make sure they're configured properly, but with proper configuration and limiting access, they are very secure. And the final thing I want to bring up is virtualization really enables the cloud. The cloud would not be possible without virtualization. It allows for you to migrate systems from on-premise into the cloud. So a virtual server hosted in a data center or a co-location facility really can help enable decentralized IT and allow for remote workers in a way that may not be as possible as if you're hosting everything there in your office. It also, once instead of an outlay of cash for buying hardware, it allows you to shift that over to an operating expense on a monthly thing, and you pay as you use that virtual machine and those virtual resources. So all of this has been made possible through virtualization over the last 10, 15 years. And it's definitely, in my book, one of the top new technologies that's come out and really made a huge impact within businesses and enterprise organizations. So if you're ready to explore virtualization, have any questions on it, if you've got a bunch of servers in-house and you're thinking maybe you can optimize your budget, increase performance, or fortify it by adding some additional securities on top of it, virtualization can definitely help. I'd love to talk with you about it. Reach out and we can have a chat about what your needs are. Just a heads up, we do have a webinar on the calendar for October 19th. We're teaming up with our friends over at Sophos. If you don't know who Sophos is, they're one of the top cybersecurity companies in the world. They're based out of UK, and they make network equipment, antivirus software. So they provide security operations center services. They really, bottom to top, are cybersecurity focused in providing tools and resources and services to protect small businesses all the way up to enterprise. They're consistently ranked one of the top in their field. So we're going to be working with them. We're going to be diving into the current state of cybersecurity, especially since October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So we're going to be talking even more about cybersecurity in October on all of our live streams and everything else, just to make sure we're making everybody aware of risks that are out there and how to properly protect yourself. With the recent headlines about MGM and Caesars falling victim to cyber attacks, we thought it'd be a good time to focus our presentation on how to prevent those type of attacks within your organization. It really is a reminder that even big companies spending millions in security can be targeted, smaller businesses are also seen as tempting targets because you don't have the same budget, the same resources, and the same security protection. So we're going to talk about how you can layer some of those protections on and protect your organization. Thanks for joining today. If you have any questions or comments, like I said, I can't respond to those now, but you can always throw a comment in, send me a direct message, reach out, email, phone, website, itnet.works. Any of those methods work, and I promise I will get back with you and answer your questions just as soon as I can. Thank you. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.